this is what we're heading towards today. And it's a little bit less involved than some of the other things that I've done. I just thought I'd show you how beautifully the older products of Lisa's tie in with the newer products of Lisa's. I'm using the nested bubble squares today. I apologise for using them today because I know they're out of stock, but I also know they are on their way back. So that's why I've used them, because I know they're coming back. It's just a case of when they get here. Okay, so the other things that I'm using today are the new layering stencils, the Build a Flower. I love these. I think they're just so pretty and you can use them in so many different ways. So on my original one, I used this one, and today I'm using this one. Okay, so that's the stencils that I'm using, and this is the die set that these come from. This is my all-time favourite die set that Lisa's ever bought out. I love this set. I just think it's so useful. I just think it's marvellous. I'm using this die particularly today. I've cut these two out, so I'm using just these leaves. However, the others are all fabulous as well, but these are one of my go-to sets. And then I'm using the brand new garden rose, but I'm not using the flower. I'm just using one of the sentiments. I'm just using this just for you here, as you can see on here, because I just think it's perfect for the card, and it just sets it off to me anyway. Okay, so I used sort of aqua greens and pinks on here. Not using those colours today. I'm going to go completely different, and I'm using blue and yellow. So let's get stuck in. First things first, let's do our flower. Now you can see I'm using random bits of card here just to try and use up some of my bits that I've ended up with. So if I pop my stencil down here and make sure that my card is okay, and these are the yellows that I'm going to be using on the flower. I've tried to zoom in a bit so that you can see a little bit more detail what I'm doing, because I think sometimes it can be a little bit far away. So flower first. So the base, I'm using Squeezed Lemonade, and I am going quite light with these colours. I don't want it really heavy, because I just think these yellows are quite vibrant anyway, I think. So I wanted to just use them gently, and obviously the further back on your brush that you hold, the less pressure that you will put down on the flower. If I'm holding it down here, then obviously I'm going to be putting more pressure and I'm going to get a deeper colour. Okay, so I'm happy with that as my bottom layer. That's my Squeezed Lemonade. Now I know normally you would go light, darker, darker still, but I'm not doing that today. I'm going light and then the darkest, and then I'm coming back to the lightest. Okay, and that's purely because I felt that when I did it the normal way, if you like, and did light, dark and then darker, the darker was in the wrong place for me. And again, that's personal choice. You do your own artwork and you decide how you like your flower. Personally, I thought the darker colour was in the wrong place, so that's why I'm going darker as my second colour rather than my third colour. Okay, so again, still not a huge amount of pressure. As you can see where I'm holding the brush, I'm not getting a huge amount of pressure on there, but I am getting my colour. See, I like that. I think that's fab. So number 3, I mean, how quick is this? You wouldn't be able to colour a flower this quick, would you, just with pencils or markers or anything? Now I'm going with a blue here, and I'm just using my little stencil brush, because this is obviously the centre of the flower, and I'm coming off the stencil into the middle, so that I'm not getting all my deepest colour in the middle. Okay, that's all I need, just that bit of blue. So take that off and then do number 4, and then, as I said, I'm going back with a lighter yellow. Now because this is lighter than the one I used before, I'm going to just take some colour off my brush on my kitchen paper just to get rid of some of the colour. And then I'm going in with scattered straw. We'll put the colours in the description when I've finished, so that you know what colours I've used. Now I'm going to go a little bit heavier with this. So I'm coming further down the brush so that I've got a little bit more pressure on my brush, because I just want this to be, it to just be in the right place with the right amount of pressure on. So hopefully that, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Let's get rid of those, because in true Blue Peter style, here's one I did earlier. Now if I get rid of my Ultimate for now, because I don't really need that again, and then we're going to move on to the base card. Now I've already cut my square out, and as I said, I've used the bubble squares, and I've used this one for my very base, and then the first square here, the first straight edge stitch square, as my white layer. So there's my dark blue layer. If I just put this down first, then this is done and dusted. I'll just pop that down there. Now the trick is getting it straight without measuring it, and I never measure, just eyeball it. That'll do. So that's my bottom layer. Now trust me, this is blue. I don't know whether you can see if the light catches it. This is the blue satin cardstock. Yeah, you can. It's a beautiful blue. It's really, really dark, but it is beautiful. You do have to look at it twice if you're trying to pick out blue or black, but it's worth the effort. So to do my circle, now you can see my circle basically goes off the card, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the darkness this end, and I wanted it to just fade up towards the sentiment. Okay, so I need to put my white piece so that my circle is hanging off the edge. Now to save time, I've already marked where it's going to go on the back of this piece of card. Now I used the nested scalloped and stitched circles to do this, because I wanted a perfect circle. I mean, you can draw it and cut it if you want to, but why would you if you've got the circle dies? And this is the biggest non-scalloped circle out of the set. Okay, so I'm using Distress Oxide, and I'm using Blueprint Sketch. Now I don't know what this is going to look like, because I've not really used this blue on such a big area, so keep fingers crossed that it looks okay. I'm using my little bijou brushes because I love Lisa's Wonder brushes, but to me these little bijou brushes give you a softer blend, so that's why I'm using these. And I'm starting off the card onto my white card. Okay, so I'm not worried how long it takes me, how long it takes to build up, but I'm building it up slowly so that my circle is going off the edge here, as you can see, but I want the colour to come gently towards the sentiment. So it's going deeper here. You won't see very much of this deeper colour, to be honest, because the flower is going to be over the top of it. But oh, it just blends beautifully. It is a beautiful blue. I can understand why Lisa likes this blue. I'm going a little bit more in the middle here. And then just above the top there. A little bit too far there really, but I'll just carry on blending. It should blend it in. Okay, that'll do. Not doing any more. Don't want any more. Okay, so before I take this circle off, I'm going to stamp my sentiment into place. And I'm going to shadow stamp it again today because I just really like the effect. So I'm going to stamp it in black first, here, right at the top, in that bit of white space. and I'm using a VersaFine Clair to stamp it with. And then I'm going in with, again, another VersaFine Clair, and this one's called Paradise. So I just get rid of some of that black ink off there before I go into another pad. Now this is quite a bright blue, but I think the other blue that VersaFine do was a little bit too dark. It was too much of a navy blue, and it just didn't stand out enough for what I wanted it to do. So hover over what you've just stamped, bring it slightly down and slightly to the left, she said, hopefully, and then stamp it down. Doesn't matter really if you've gone a little bit too far. It really doesn't matter, it just gives you a different effect. See, I have gone a little bit too far over, but if you look at the one I did yesterday, you see I haven't gone quite as far with that one as I have with that one, but I don't think it's really going to matter that much, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so if I add this to my card, whoops, now I just think that really, that circle with that piece of white near the sentiment, to me, I think it just sets it all off really lovely. So if I just pop this down here in the right place, again, totally eyeballing it because I don't do measuring. Might not be totally straight, but never mind. Okay, so that's the base of my card done. Okay, now I've got my flower, which is going to sit here. Okay, I have shaped my flower using the black foam mat out of my Ultimate, because I just think it's perfect. It's just hard enough to give you a little bit of give to do some shaping with your flowers and your leaves, but it's not soft enough that your ball tool sort of pushes into your flower and rips your flower. So I think it's perfect for that. So here's my leaves that I've already done. Okay, but I'm just going to show you how I do them. They all started off this blue, and then I wanted to add a little bit of detail so that they sort of, I don't know, just popped, if you like, because I just think adding that little bit of detail just makes all the difference. So I'm just adding a few lines with my Copics, and I'm using markers because it's going to show up better than pencils. I have tried it with pencils and it just doesn't show up right. Is that the satin cardstock? The blue is the satin cardstock, Tina. But the leaves are AC at the moment, but they won't be very soon, hopefully. So then I'm going in with a different blue, just exactly the same way, just little flicky lines from the base of the leaf, just upwards, dead easy, dead quick. And then I'm using a white gel pen. This is the Jelly Roll pen. I find this one is the best that I've got. I've got numerous white pens, but this one for me does the best thing, and it's a size 8. I've got 3. There's a 5, an 8 and a 10. This is the 8, and this is the middle one, and for me this gives the best effect. So I'm just going to add 3 little white lines. I'm not going as many as I did with the blue, because I just want these to be highlights. So this is sort of where the light would catch your leaf, if you like. Okay, and that's all I'm doing. But I think when you look at what that looks like now to what it looked like when I first showed it you, I think it just makes all the difference. And then all I've done is literally gone in with my ball tool and shaped these leaves so that they've got some sort of fluidity with them, really, because I don't want them as flat leaves, because it's pointless raising all your work up on 3D pads if everything that you add to the card is just going to be flat. Okay, so I've just added a little bit of shape into my leaves, and now they sit how I want them to sit, so that they're going to sit nicely on the card. You see the difference? And I just think it's worth spending a couple of seconds just to make them look a little bit more special. Okay, so now I've just got to work out where I want these leaves to be. Now I am going to snip into these because this one particularly, I don't want it where it's going to be. I want it in a different place. So I'm not gluing anything down to start with. I'm just placing everything where I think I want it to be. And I'm using the circle to place my leaves. So my leaves are going round the shape of the circle. And then this set down here, I'm snipping in two. And I'm going to put this one here. And then this one's going on the top. And because I've done that shaping on the leaves, they will sit proud, and I think they just look better. And then my flower is going in here, so it's not covering up any of those leaves. Yeah, I'm happy with that layout. Now, I've always admired Lisa's cards, because Lisa loves white space, and I do think white space is fantastic on cards, but I never managed to do it. And when I made my sample ready for today, I did the card, made the sample, put it out, and then I was going to use the little dots that come out of the bubble squares. I was going to add those in the corners as sort of like in place of gems, and I put them down and I looked at it and I thought, why are you doing that? It doesn't need it. And it really didn't. And I think sometimes we do things we've always done, and I think sometimes it's good to do something completely different. Now I'm using 3D glue gel here, and the reason I'm using 3D glue gel instead of pads is that I can push these down and make them different levels. I can't do that with pads unless I use one pad and then two pads, and then, do you know what I mean? And it just gets a bit fiddly with pads, so that's why I'm using my 3D glue gel on these. I'll just add this one here. Now, I'm not worried about the stems on the flowers. I don't mind where they are, because you're not going to see them, because when I put the flower on the top, the flower will hide all those stalks, so I'm not worried about those. So I've just lift that one out of the way and do this one. See, it's quite a quick and easy card, but I do think it's so pretty and it's really effective. Yeah, see, Sandy, that's what I mean. I'm the same. I love white space on cards, but I'm a bit naughty for actually doing it. So I'm placing that around the circle. Perhaps gone a little bit too far there because I want the flower to cover the stalk. So, but I'm not worried that it's hanging off the edge of this white card, because obviously it's still on the blue card, so it's not going to spoil in the post. Okay, so I'll just put these down here, and these are going on top of this one, like that. And they can sit on top because I'm using glue gel, and they can sit at a different height. And then all I need to do is add the glue gel to my flower, and you can see it's creased here where I've shaped it. It's not a problem, because if you look at the front, where it's creased on the front is where the petals would form anyway, so I don't think that matters. So a little bit of glue gel on there, and then pop my flower down here. So again, it's not covering the leaves. The leaves are just popping out from behind that flower, which is exactly how I wanted them to be. I've got a little bit of dust on there. Okay, how quick and easy was that? And that little trick with the leaves and just adding a little bit of detail, I think makes all the difference. So there you go. two cards, exactly the same technique, but how different do they look? So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for joining me today, and I'll see you all again on Thursday at 10 o'clock. Bye for now.